Hello, this is Jennie McGarvey, and I am excited to share with you a page that I created using the Scraptastic Club Centerfield kit and add-on. And I also used the September 2015 sketch from Scraptastic Club created by Susan Stringfellow. As you can see, I'm pulling out items from the kit and the add-on that I want to use on this page. And it's a little bit based on the sketch because I know there are certain design elements included in the sketch. And for instance, like I know that there's a few different opportunities for different patterned papers or cardstock, either one. And so I want to make sure that I pull out enough pieces from the get-go and at least have enough choices to make when I want to put those all together. I am loving those pattern papers that I pulled. The aqua cardstock is absolutely beautiful. It's also smooth, which I love smooth cardstock. I don't know why. I know that the trend is for textured cardstock, but I am a huge fan of smooth. The patterned papers from Echo Park and Simple Stories, and then of course that one right there, the exclusive from Caitlin Schaefer for Scraptastic Club. I just absolutely love it. It's got like a yellow circle diagonal line. I know that's hard to describe, but I just love it. And then you pair that aqua cardstock with it and the color combination is fantastic. Now I love the use of those circles with the numbers in it. Since this is a soccer layout, that totally makes sense to me to have the circles and the numbers sort of meaning the soccer balls and then also like the score, you know, the numbers or whatever. And so those all sort of correlate together in my head, soccer game, circles and numbers. And so I really love using that together. And I love just using a little bit because a whole lot would be overwhelming, but a little is just a fun little accent. Now that card that I pulled out, it's 3x4. It's actually not a card, it's a piece of the cut apart paper that comes in the add-on, and that is definitely by far my favorite sheet of paper every month. Every month, I love it. Maybe there's one on there that I don't like, or you know, it's not my favorite or something like that, but by and large, that piece of paper always ends up being my favorite and gets chopped up every single month. There's not a month where I have that one left over. Maybe a couple of pieces, but not an intact sheet. Now, as you can see, I'm starting to follow the sketch, adding those little frames from Simple Stories, which are really, really fun. Now, some of them are a little bit harder to use because the patterns are quite bold, and so they wouldn't work on a page like this with other patterned papers. But if you weren't using a ton of patterned paper, if you were using maybe mostly cardstock with a little bit of patterned paper, you would absolutely be able to throw some of those in. Now I'm going to start layering some of these elements, the different pattern paper, my photo, following the sketch pretty closely this month. Some months I'm not feeling it quite as much, and so therefore I change it up a little bit. But this month I really wanted to stick to it because I had a specific idea in mind. And since the photo itself is ever so slightly chaotic, since it's the soccer field, I wanted to keep the layout really simple and clean and linear. So now I started hearing it all down after I have just trimmed the things up and sort of laid them out. I don't like to adhere them immediately. I like to make sure that I have an overall idea of how things look before I start the adhering process. Now, that doesn't mean that I don't change things or have to pull them up, but it just means that I know that I like the general overall theme before I start with the adhesive. Now, I do use my ATG gun a lot. It is really strong and heavy duty, and I know over the past few years there's been a lot of different arguments about adhesive. For me, when I go back to albums that I created 13 years ago, point blank, some of the elements are in the bottom of the page protector. And so using this ATG gun, I feel really confident that that won't happen. And you know what? It's inexpensive. It's easy to use. I don't lose it on my desk underneath the clutter. So I really do like using it a lot for that reason. Now the main part of my page is adhered down, and so now I can start really getting to the embellishing part, those frames, the journaling spot, getting them all where I want them, and then I'll have this really fun elements to sort of finish up and get to embellishing, which is, as we all know, the really fun part of a layout. Now in this kit there were so many fun embellishments included. As you can see, I've just pulled out a few of those enamel dots, die cuts, the Evilicious stickers, and then some of the exclusive wood veneers, which were varied this month. There were quite a few different ones, though there were some sports balls included, which is great since my page is about soccer, so I will obviously use that. And then also a flare. I cannot get enough that there are so many embellishments included, and especially considering the low price of these kits. Anyway, as you can see, I added a couple of little things inside those frames, the soccer ball and then that flare. And then they have the matching thing where they're both circular. And then I will add just one of those little Evilicious stickers. They're really fun because they are puffy, but they're not really overly bulky, if that makes sense. They have sort of a low profile. Now I'm just adding my journaling right to that 3x4 card. This was a layout that I created because I wanted to tell the story. I mean, obviously it's really fun to have a photo from a soccer game, and it's really fun to scrap a page from the soccer game. But this particular week, I wanted to tell this story about my youngest son and how when he plays goalie, he throws the ball down the field instead of giving it the big kick, and how he can still make it over halfway across the field just with his big arm. So it's really a fun little story, especially because I was wrong. I had told him to kick it instead of throw it, and then he does such a spectacular job. And I thought that would be a really fun story to look back on in years to come. Now I'm also using the date roller stamp from October Afternoon, which is just something that I have in my stash. And that's fantastic because I can absolutely include the exact date, which I can't always do because sometimes I don't quite remember the day that the photo was taken, but this one had just happened, so I did have that date. Now I love to use those glue dots to adhere down, particularly my flare, but also sometimes other elements that they work on. The sort of dispenser is my absolute favorite way to go with those glue dots. There's no excess backing to peel off or anything like that. It's all neat and tidy, and then when it's done, you're finished and you can just toss that out. Now I'm going to look through. I know that I want to create an embellishment up in the upper right hand corner, and it's kind of difficult for me to decide which way to go because there are so many embellishments, but then I realized really ultimately I should use those die cuts from Simple Stories, the So Rad collection, because there are just so many fantastic ones included in that package that I can really coordinate with the story that I want to tell, yet layer them together and create a whole fun little cluster of embellishments just with little paper die cuts, and so I was really happy with that. Now as you can see, I'm sort of piecing together a few different elements, sort of a background piece, a little arrow, a little speech bubble, a button, and then of course the soccer ball die cut. I mean, there are not that many opportunities to use really themed die cuts, but on a page like this, it makes perfect sense to use something like that. And then because I'm not using it on the top, I layered it back behind. It doesn't make the overall page feel super themey, though obviously it's there and obviously it goes with the theme of the photo and the story that I'm telling. Now I will kind of, go back and forth because a lot of those little die cuts that have words on them with the speech bubbles are, they fit my story just fine. But then I try to think about how, okay, on this particular layout, I can use one that says epic, and it's not something you can always use because it's kind of a strong word. So yeah, let's go ahead and just use that and then take the one that says dude out because dude can be used in a ton of different applications. So that's why it's important for me to be thoughtful sometimes about the embellishments that I have and think about the versatility on a different project or on a different page that I already have in mind, or a greeting card or something like that. And I used a foam dot to puff up that star just to give it a little bit of added dimension, since the rest of it's very flat since they are paper die cuts. And then once I had the whole thing together, just boom, adhering it down, and then it's done. Now I'm going to start working on the title over here, and both alphabet sets I'm going to be pulling from my stash. This is an American Crafts DIY 2 craft alpha. They're kind of large. I love the craft and I love the size on this particular page and how the colors coordinate. And then I will also pull out a set of thickers that I really like the color and the font as well to go with this particular page. It's not a big deal that I added some alphabets from my stash. There are alphabets included in this kit. I just knew that for this layout I wanted something a little bit different. Now I want to thank you so much for stopping by and watching my video. I appreciate the time that it takes and your helpful comments when you leave them for me. If you enjoyed this video, I would really appreciate it if you could leave me a thumbs up. That lets YouTube know what you like to see, and it lets me know that you like to watch my videos too and that I should keep creating them. Anyway, thank you so much again and make it a great day.